Today's video is about one of the most popular R&B performers of the 80s and the 90s. Not only did he have a string of multi-million selling albums, but he also had chart-topping smash singles. He's also responsible for several sold-out concerts throughout the whole world. He was one of the several musicians who took charge of their career via their creativity, composing, arranging, and producing majority of their hit songs, as well as writing numerous of hits for other performers. He's also recognized for his unique adaptations of classic pop and R&B songs, reflecting his knowledge and admiration of his youth popular music. This great performer had a silky, flexible tenor voice that attracted millions of people with his romantic style. The subject of today's video is all about Luther Vandross. Before we get started in today's video, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more uploads. Now without further ado, let's cue that intro. Luther Vandross Jr. was born in New York City, New York on April 20th, 1951. His parents, Luther Vandross Sr. was a vet and his mother, Mary Ada, was a nurse. Growing up in a musical family where both parents sang and encouraged their children to do the same, Vandross, being a baby, had learned how to play the piano by ear at just the age of 3. While growing up in the Alfred E. Smith housing complexes in Lower Manhattan, he began to take piano courses by the time he was the age of 5. Despite taking courses, he remained a primary self-taught musician. His older sister, Patricia Vandross, was a member of the Crest and went on to have a successful career. Vandross' first tragedy occurred when he was just 8 years old, when he would lose his father to diabetes. After the death of his father, his mother relocated the family to the Bronx. Here he attended William Howard Taft High School, where he formed a vocal group called Shades of Jade. He also founded the first ever Patti LaBelle fan club, which he served as president. According to Patti LaBelle, the two met when she and the Bluebells performed at the Apollo, and he came to give her clothes for their performance. His group was a part of the Apollo Theater's workshop, and in 1969 the group released 2 singles with Only Love Can Make a Better World and Listen My Brother. This paved the way for him to appear on the first few episodes of Sesame Street. Vandross graduated from high school in 1969 and attended Western Michigan University for a year before dropping out. Vandross returned home after dropping out of college and performed several jobs while still attempting to break into the industry. In 1972, he got to work in the business, but as a backup singer for Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway. That next year, Vandross was able to demonstrate his talent by working on Dolores Hall's album, Hallmark. Vandross appeared on the songs Who's Gonna Make It Easier For Me, which he wrote, and as well as In This Lonely Hour. One day while singing, he was overheard by David Bowie, who requested him to join his tour as a backup vocalist. This led to Vandross offering Bowie a song that he wrote called Funky Music as a Part of Me, which was reworked to Fascination for Bowie's 1975 album.
What was your first big break?
David Bowie. David Bowie discovered me. And,
really?
Yeah, accidentally he discovered me singing in a studio with him. And he introduced me. I was visiting a guitar player who I had gone to school with, Carlos Alomar, and I was on the couch singing. And David overheard me. He says, "Oh, that sounds great. Put it on the record." You know.
Vandross' collaboration with Bowie opened new adventures for him as he composed Everybody Rejoice for the 1975 Broadway play The Wiz. Vandross met Bette Midler through Bowie, who recruited him to arrange vocals for her Broadway play, Beck Miller claims on a Half Shell. Miller introduced Vandross to her Atlantic Records producer, Arif Mardin. Here, Vandross found consistent employment as a backup singer and vocal arranger. Vandross appeared on the albums by the Backer Brothers Band and Judy Collins by 1976. He also formed Luther, which was a vocal quintet that was signed to Coalition Records. The group released its debut self-titled album in June of 1976, which included 3 charted singles with It's Good for the Soul,
You like to play the game. Mama warned you never.
Funky Music,
Every time I feel my motor getting in gear.
and The Second Time Around.
If at first in love you lose, don't give up.
That very next year, the group released their second album titled This Close to You. Now, this album had 1 charted single with the title song.
This close to you, I feel the strange and
Because of the group's tenure at the label did not get enough notice, that was dropped by the label and the group was disbanded as a result. Vandross continued to work as a session musician, and by 1977, he performed on the albums by Nels Lofgren, The Average White Band, Ben E. King, and Cheek. That same year, Vandross entered the realm of commercial jingle writing, which he did from 1977 to the early 80s. He would compose jingles for companies including NBC, Mountain Dew, KFC, Burger King, and Juicy Fruit. Vandross' popularity began to grow more during the mid-70s when his song Everybody Rejoice was featured in a Kodak commercial.
In the late 70s, Luther worked a day job singing TV commercials.
Oh yeah, I was a jingle singer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You did commercials for Pepsi,
Pepsi Cola. But I did Pepsi and
Kentucky
what are some others?
Fried
Remind me,
Chicken.
yeah. Right, Juicy Fruit.
Yes.
NBC, Proud as a Peacock.
Yeah. What happened? How'd you do that?
Oh, let's see. We got lots of style. We got a lot to smile about. In a special way, we're gonna light your nights and fill your days. Make you laugh, make you cry, make you see the reason why we're proud to be NBC, NBC, proud as a peacock.
Throughout the rest of the 70s, Vandross created a reputation for himself by continuing to appear on various artists' albums and composing and producing songs. His performance in the 70s earned him a solo contract with Epic Records, where he would release his debut album, Never Too Much, on August 12, 1981. This album peaked at number 19 on the Billboard 200 charts, as well as going number 1 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts, also selling over 2 million copies, earning it 2 platinum certifications. This album produced 3 big singles with
don't you know that after my love.
and a cover of Dionne Warwick's A House Is Not a Home.
But a chair is not a house.
Although Vandross' debut album was a success, he continued to love delivering background vocals. As much as he liked working as a background vocalist, mainly because he was really shy, he also enjoyed working as a songwriter, producer, and arranger, especially when opportunity to work with the singers that he grew up idolizing presented himself, such as when he was able to work with Cheryl Lynn, helping to produce her top 10 ranking album, Instant Love. The pair, they would cover Marvin Gaye's and Tammy Terrell's track that same year, If This World Was Mine.
If this world were mine, I would place at your.
This became a common path for Vandross as he would take an unappreciated retro song and make it even more tremendous.
What's behind what seems to be an affinity you have for doing songs that other great artists recorded and made famous, without fear on your part?
Yeah. Well, partly because ever since I was small, there's always been a bunch of songs that I said I would love to sing myself if I ever got a chance to, and it's a tribute. It's partly a tribute to the artist, to the original artist, and it's also a challenge to see if I can come up with a Lutherized version of what the song is.
Vandross would produce Aretha Franklin's album Jump to It in July of 1982, also co-writing 4 tracks for her. Despite his busy schedule of producing, writing, and providing background vocals, he managed to find the time to release his second album titled Forever, For Always, For Love on September 21st, 1982, which peaked at number 20 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 1 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. This album will also sell over 1 million copies, earning a platinum certification. This album had 3 charted singles with Bad Boy,
Roll back the rug, everybody. Move all the tables.
cover of The Temptations, Since I Lost My Baby,
There's plenty of light. A new day's dawn.
and Promise Me.
I can only speak for.
That same year, he also produced Aretha Franklin's album Get It Right. Vandross penned and produced many songs for various artists such as Diana Ross and Dionne Warwick throughout the 80s. The rest of the decade, Vandross recorded 4 platinum-selling albums, with Busybody, that was released in 1983 and peaked at number 32 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 1 on the Billboard Top R&B Album charts. The Night I Fell in Love, that was released in 1985 and peaked at number 19 on the Billboard 200 charts, also peaking at number 1 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts, also selling over 2 million copies, going 2 times certified platinum. Give Me the Reason, which was released in 1986 and had peaked at number 14 on the Billboard 200 charts, number 1 on the Billboard Top R&B Album charts, also selling over 2 million copies, going certified platinum twice. And lastly, Any Love, which was released in 1988 and had peaked at number 19 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 1 on the Billboard Top R&B Album charts. Among these albums, Vandross also laid down many hits throughout this decade, including How Many Times Can We Say Goodbye?
Still we go on, hopelessly trying.
Till My Baby Comes Home,
I don't worry 'cause I love my baby. And no matter where my baby is,
If Only for One Night,
scream, I'll be at your side.
Stop to Love,
When you just hurry away, leaving me laying there in shock.
and Here and Now, among many more songs.
I promise to love faithfully.
Vandross wrote, produced, and provided backup vocals for Whitney Houston's song Who Do You Love in 1990. And that same year, he was also making a special appearance on the sitcom 227. Vandross basically dominated the whole 80s, and he would prove that he can dominate the 90s as well. In 1991, he released the album Power of Love, which peaked at number 7 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 1 on the Billboard Top R&B Album charts, also going certified platinum twice. This album had many hits such as the title song,
When I say goodbye, it is never for long. 'Cause I
I Want to Be a Fool,
time around, I tell myself it's the game of love.
and Sometimes It's Only Love.
Feel the same way you do about honesty.
On May 26, 1993, he released another album titled Never Let Me Go, which peaked at number 6 on the Billboard 200 charts, number 3 on the Billboard Top R&B Album charts, also going certified platinum. This album had few hits such as Little Miracles,
Makes you wonder who you can trust. What's gone?
and Heaven Knows.
Heaven knows how much I care.
In 1994, Vandross released the album Songs, which peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200 charts, number 2 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts, also going certified platinum twice. This album had many singles, including the duet with Mariah Carey called Endless Love.
There's only you in my life, the only
And Always and Forever.
moment with you. It's just like a dream.
The 1996 album, Your Secret Love, that peaked at number 9 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 2 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts, also going certified platinum. By 1998, Vandross had finished his contract with Epic Records and had signed with Virgin, where he would release his final album of the decade, I Know, which peaked at number 26 on the Billboard 200 charts, number 9 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts, also going certified platinum. In the 90s, he would earn 4 Grammy Awards, and he would also sing the American National Anthem at Super Bowl 31 in 1997. By the end of the 90s, Vandross had signed to J Records, and in June of 2001, he released his self-titled album, which peaked at number 6 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 2 on the Billboard Top R&B Album charts, earning him his first ever gold certification. Vandross released his final album, Dance With My Father, in June of 2003 and peaked at number 1 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 1 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts, as well as going certified platinum twice. Vandross released many singles through the 2000s with Take You Out,
Possibly, can I take you out tonight?
I'd Rather,
Was what we really needed. You said this time would hurt more.
The Closer I Get to You,
The more you make me see.
and Dance With My Father, among many, many more hits.
Back when I was a child.
Vandross was never married, nor had children. He also never dated anyone openly. His sexuality has been a long source of contention since his friend, Bruce Vilich, indicated that Vandross was gay, and Patti LaBelle, which the two was very close, remarked in a December 2017 interview that, quote, he had a lot of lady fans and didn't want to accept the world, end quote. Now, regardless of whether Luther was gay or not, his celebrity was so big that personally, I felt if he would have came out, nobody would care since he was adored by literally everyone. But this was during a period where being gay, and on top of that being black, might have resulted in the end of your career. In December of 1985, Vandross he filed a lawsuit against a British magazine that claimed that he dropped 85 pounds as a result of having AIDS. Now, Vandross struggled with weight throughout his whole career, and he hates to talk about it. But if you question him about it, he won't hesitate to let you know how he feels.
A lot of people make a big deal out of your weight. Does it bother you?
Yeah, it's bothersome right now that you're asking me. It's bothersome because I don't enjoy talking about it a lot. You know, my record company, J Records, used to always insist, oh, you got it, because I used to say, I don't want to talk about that. I don't really want to speak on that. You know, that's a personal struggle. And
during the height of his career, in 1986, Vandross found himself in legal difficulties after signing vocalist Jimmy Savini and finishing Jimmy's first album, Roll It. Vandross, Jimmy, and his brother Larry decided to go out and celebrate. All three was riding in Vandross' 1985 Mercedes-Benz and was traveling on the northern area of Hollywood Hills in LA on January 12, 1986. Vandross was reportedly traveling 50 miles per hour in the 35 miles per hour zone. His automobile had drifted beyond the double yellow center and turned sideways, colliding with another vehicle. Larry, who was seated in the passenger seat, died on the scene, while Vandross sustained 3 fractured ribs, a broken hip, and other bruises and wounds, while Jimmy received a concussion and bruises. Vandross was charged with vehicle manslaughter and his license was suspended for a year. He would plead no contest to reckless driving, mainly to the fact that there was no evidence of him being under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Jamie's family initially supported Vandross, but they eventually chose to sue him for wrongful death, and the matter was resolved out of court. Vandross was diagnosed with high blood pressure and diabetes early in his career. On April 16, 2003, Vandross suffered a major stroke at his New York City home, which put him in a coma for over 2 months. As a result, he was unable to speak, sing, or walk, but he would slightly recover after the fact. During the 2004 Grammy Awards, he appeared in a pre-recorded acceptance video for the Song of the Year.
Hello, everybody. I wish I could be with you there tonight. I want to thank everyone and for your love and support. And remember, when I say goodbye, it's never for long, because I believe in the power of love.
Vandross' last television appearance was on the Oprah Winfrey Show on May 6, 2004. Vandross sadly passed away on July 1st, 2005 at the age of 54 after suffering a heart attack. Throughout his career, Vandross won 8 Grammy Awards, 4 Soul Train Awards, and 9 American Music Awards. Vandross' mother outlived her husband and all of her children, who all died from effects of diabetes or asthma. Ms. Vandross will pass in 2008. Vandross received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on June 3, 2014. He was also inducted into the Bronx Walk of Fame in 2007. In 2001, Vandross was inducted into the Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame. Now, as of this recording, Jamie Foxx is planning to do a documentary about Luther Vandross. So, we will see how accurate my video comes out. For over 3 decades, Luther Vandross continuously sold millions of albums. It's also worth noting, while he clearly shaped his music to some part satisfy commercial demands, he also enforced his own R&B approach. At the age of 54, the world was robbed of a tremendous talent. That's why I say Luther Vandross is the king of the quiet storm, as can be proven by his incredible catalog.